a robbery carried out by a masked criminal gang. When his negotiations with them failed, he decided to take action and rescue the hostages. The film opens with a daring heist at the Minute Market, executed by a group of masked criminals. They storm into the store, brandishing weapons and taking control of the employees and customers, forcing them to lie on the floor as hostages. The robbers threaten the store owner, demanding all the cash from the register. A police officer, who happens to be at the scene, is also taken hostage. Fortunately, he managed to report the robbery to his team before being overpowered. When the police arrived at the scene, an officer attempted to communicate and negotiate with the robbers. However, his offer was quickly rejected. Faced with the situation, the police immediately requested backup from the SWAT team. Upon their arrival, the Special Unit Commander, Tate, took over radio communications and made another attempt to reopen negotiations. However, once again the robbers remained steadfast and refused to back down. In the end, Tate had no choice but to order an assault to capture the robbers and rescue the hostages. He assigned 3 SWAT members, Blanco, Jannard, and Hunt, to secretly infiltrate the Minute Market. After successfully gaining entry, Tate and the rest of the team began executing their strategy, systematically and efficiently neutralizing each robber one by one. Tate's strategy proved effective in subduing the criminals, but the raid also resulted in some injuries among the hostages and property damage. After completing the mission, the team left the scene and returned to base the following morning. Tate and his 3 team members felt satisfied knowing they had successfully prevented the robbery the night before. Shortly after, the Special Unit Commander summoned Tate and his team members to his office for a reprimand. He criticized the way they handled the robbery the night before, emphasizing that their actions had caused excessive damage, from eliminating the entire gang of criminals and injuring some hostages to inflicting significant property losses on the Minute Market owner. To ensure they learned from the incident, he decided to conduct a brief training session, instructing the team on more effective hostage rescue tactics to minimize casualties and damage. The next day, as an instructor delivered a lecture on hostage rescue methods, the SWAT team members appeared indifferent, believing that his teachings couldn't compare to their real-world combat experience. Sensing their lack of respect, the instructor decided to stop the lecture and left the room in frustration. The scene then transitions to a different situation, where a man named Demetrius and a woman named Ilyar are holding another man, Kenny, hostage. Demetrius threatened Kenny with a knife, forcing him to reveal the location of the hidden item. Under pressure, Kenny led Demetrius and Cenelia to an aircraft hangar, where he had stashed what they were looking for. At the same time, a black car sped toward the scene, driven by a man named Lampone. Upon arrival, Lampone and his crew stepped out of the vehicle, immediately drawing their guns on Demetrius and Ilyar. Realizing the escalating tension, Demetrius and Ilyar quickly raised their weapons in response. After a tense exchange, Demetrius and Lampone realized they had the same goal, retrieving the item Kenny had hidden. Ultimately, they decided to lower their weapons temporarily and discuss ownership of the item. However, before their conversation could reach a conclusion, the sound of police sirens echoed in the distance, growing closer by the second. Sensing the imminent danger, Demetrius, Ilyar, Lampone, and their crew abandoned their negotiation and quickly hid inside a storage container at the back of the vehicle. The approaching police car belonged to the SWAT team, led directly by Tate. Tate then assigned Jannard, Blanco, and Hunt to lead the assault training exercise inside the aircraft hangar. He ordered all team members to fully equip themselves with weapons, grenades, bulletproof vests, and other necessary gear. Once everyone was ready, Tate gave the command to move into the hangar. On the other side, Demetrius and Lampone were caught off guard, trying to figure out how the police had discovered their presence. They watched as the SWAT team members, fully armed and serious, entered with determination, as if they were carrying out an actual arrest mission. Tate and the 3 SWAT team members were completely unaware of the criminals' presence inside the aircraft hangar. They were merely conducting a simulated arrest drill, a routine training exercise held at the location. However, this time they had no idea they would unintentionally come face to face with real smugglers and kidnappers. As the SWAT team opened the steel door, they swiftly moved to the second floor to begin their exercise, simulating live fire engagement with pre-arranged targets in each room. Gunfire erupted from the upper floor, sending Lampone and Demetrius into a panic. They immediately pressured Kenny to reveal the location of the hidden item. However, tensions escalated, leading to a heated argument, which quickly turned into a violent shootout. Hearing the commotion from below, Tate immediately ordered Blanco to check the situation. Fortunately, Just as Blanco stepped down, one of Lampone's men suddenly appeared and fired, shooting him straight in the chest. Blanco had no time to react before the bullet struck him, causing him to collapse instantly. In that moment, Demetrius realized that Blanco's rounds were actually rubber bullets. This led him to understand that the SWAT team was merely conducting a training exercise and had not yet discovered the real shootout happening below. Tate and the remaining 2 team members decided to head downstairs to investigate the situation. Upon arrival, they came face to face with Demetrius and Lampone's gang, who openly admitted to killing a police officer. Fury ignited within Tate, and he immediately raised his gun, ready to take them down. However, the criminals had already realized that the SWAT team was only using non-lethal training weapons, leaving them completely unfazed. Instead, they took the initiative and opened fire. Tate and his 2 team members were forced to retreat, taking cover in a room behind a steel door. They quickly ran up to the 2nd floor, hoping to find an escape route. However, their plan failed when the criminals spotted their position through the window. Situation became even more critical, as all of the SWAT team's communication equipment had been left in their vehicle, making it impossible to call for backup from the police department. With no other options, Tate and his teammates had to quickly devise a strategy, not only to escape but also to eliminate the criminals. Meanwhile, Demetrius and Lampone continued arguing over the item Kenny had hidden. Demetrius was determined to stay in the hangar and confront the police, as he was desperate to obtain the item at any cost. To strengthen his forces, Demetrius called for reinforcements, preparing for a showdown with the officers. At that moment, Ilya drove a SWAT vehicle into the hangar, quickly retrieving weapons and a mobile phone from inside. Within minutes, Demetrius's reinforcements began to arrive, ready for battle. Demetrius's crew attempted to break through the steel door on the lower floor to reach the 2nd level. However, realizing it would take too long, Demetrius decided to use the exterior staircase to climb through a window. At the same time, Tate noticed that the criminals had left the room, seizing the opportunity to run to the SWAT vehicle to retrieve weapons. Just as he got into the vehicle, he was suddenly threatened at gunpoint by an unknown man. Fortunately, Tate quickly overpowered him and discovered that Kenny was being held captive inside the vehicle. Wasting no time, Tate immediately escorted Kenny back to the room behind the steel door to ensure his safety. As Tate and Hunt returned to the room, they suddenly heard sounds of a struggle coming from the 2nd floor. Without hesitation, they rushed upstairs to check the situation. It turned out that one of Demetrius's men had climbed up and attacked Jannard. Tate immediately intervened, pulling the attacker away and taking him down on the spot. Shortly after, Tate noticed that Kenny had suddenly left, claiming he needed to use the restroom. Finding it suspicious, Tate quickly pursued him and aimed his gun at Kenny. As soon as Tate handed over the hidden items to Hunt and Jannard, the 3 finally realized that these were what the criminals had been searching for. Kenny then revealed a secret escape route leading to an underground room, offering them a chance to get away. Meanwhile, Lampone reinforced his crew by calling for backup, including his close ally Pharaoh. At the same time, Demetrius and Lampone's gang quickly devised a plan to track down and capture Kenny at all costs. After searching every room, the criminals still couldn't find any trace of Kenny. Eventually, they discovered a hidden door leading to an underground room. Determined to track down Kenny, the entire group quickly made their way inside. Meanwhile, Tate separated from Kenny and the other 2 SWAT members to check the area behind them, taking Kenny's suitcase with him as a precaution. After confirming that the area was secure, Tate decided to return to his 2 teammates. Suddenly, Pharaoh appeared and overpowered him. At the same time, Kenny and the other 2 SWAT members were also surrounded by Demetrius and Lampone's gang. When Demetrius ordered Ilya to kill Tate, he quickly spoke up, claiming that he knew exactly where the item they were searching for was, and that Kenny never actually possessed it. As a result, Demetrius abandoned his plan to kill Tate. Meanwhile, Lampone and his gang had successfully restrained Kenny, Hunt, and Jannard. Overjoyed at obtaining Kenny's briefcase, Lampone immediately opened it only to be stunned when he found it completely empty. Everything had already been removed by Hunt before the group was captured. Realizing that the situation was not in his favor, Lampone quickly ordered Pharaoh and his men to check whether Demetrius and his gang had possession of the briefcase. When Pharaoh and his men arrived, Demetrius and his gang were already prepared to carry out an execution. In the dire situation, Tate suggested that Demetrius use the SWAT vehicle to escape from the basement. Seeing no other option, Demetrius reluctantly unshackled Tate, hoping he could help deal with Lampone and his crew. Moments later, Tate and Demetrius's group rushed out of the hangar. desperately trying to evade the gunfire from Pharaoh and his henchmen. The chase between Demetrius's gang and Lampone's crew erupted into chaos. Growing increasingly impatient, Lampone became furious as Kenny stubbornly refused to reveal the location of the hidden item. Enraged, Lampone drew his gun and shot Kenny in the head. Meanwhile, one of Lampone's men was secretly tailing Hunt, hoping to uncover the item's whereabouts. However, Hunt caught him off guard and took him down. Silently, Hunt made his way back to where Lampone and Jannard were, raising his gun and aiming it directly at Lampone. Hunt then handcuffed Lampone and tied him up in the corner of the room. At the same time, Tate and Demetrius's crew stormed back into the hangar, crashing the SWAT vehicle straight through the doors, shattering them on impact. Tate immediately jumped into the fight. Jannard and Hunt joined forces to take on Lampone's gang. A fierce gunfight erupted between Lampone's men and the SWAT team. The battle was so intense that the SWAT vehicle was completely torn apart by gunfire. Hunt deliberately detonated the vehicle that Lampone's gang was using as cover, wiping them out instantly. Amid the chaos, Demetrius stealthily approached and aimed his gun at Hunt. Once again, Hunt, Jannard, and Tate fell into the hands of Demetrius and Ilya, becoming hostages. Now in possession of the item he had been searching for all along, Demetrius ordered Ilya to eliminate the entire SWAT team, ready to put an end to anyone standing in his way. Feeling uneasy after hearing no gunfire from inside the hangar, Demetrius immediately went back to check. As he stepped inside, he was stunned to find Ilya knocked unconscious by Lampone and Pharaoh. It turned out that both had survived the earlier explosion, and now the tables had completely turned. Demetrius was the one being taken hostage. Pharaoh raised his gun, ready to execute the SWAT team. Suddenly, Tate spoke up, making one final request to allow him and his two teammates to cover their ears before the shot was fired. Tate quickly detonated a sound bomb, causing Lampone to collapse within seconds. Panicked, Pharaoh tried to escape the hangar, but Tate intercepted him just in time. A fierce battle erupted between the two, both highly skilled fighters, turning the fight into an intense and brutal showdown. In the end, Tate gained the upper hand. He finished Pharaoh off with a concrete rebar. Tate and his two teammates finally succeeded in capturing Demetrius, Ilya, and Lampone, while securing the item the criminals had been after. When everything was over, they sat in the car sighing in relief, but not without joking that their boss would definitely be furious over the mess they had just created. The next morning, Tate, Jannard, and Hunt were summoned to the command office. The unit leader had called them in to express condolences for the loss of Blanco, a teammate who had sacrificed his life during the mission. Instead of reprimanding them, the commander praised their courage and determination during the previous day's mission. He acknowledged the team's efforts and emphasized that, despite the losses, they had fought with everything they had and successfully completed their mission. The key lesson to take away from this story is the power of teamwork. When all members are united and support one another, no challenge is insurmountable. It was that very sense of solidarity that allowed them to overcome danger and achieve victory.